Before we start, make sure to like and subscribe for more educational English videos like this one. The day everything went wrong and right last year, I had one of the strangest days of my life. It started as a normal morning, but by the end of the day, everything had completely changed in a way I could never have expected. I woke up late because my alarm didn't go off. Normally, very organized person, and I always wake up on time. But that morning, I felt very tired and confused. When I checked the time, I realized I had only 20 minutes to get ready and leave for work. I quickly got out of bed, put on my clothes, and skipped breakfast. I didn't even have time to drink coffee, which is something I never miss. I grabbed my bag and ran out of the house as fast as I could. Unfortunately, things didn't get better. When I arrived at the bus stop, I saw that I had just missed my bus. The next one was going to arrive in 30 minutes. I felt stressed and a little angry because I knew I would be late for an important meeting. While I was waiting, I decided to call my manager and explain the situation. Luckily, she was understanding and told me not to worry too much. Still, I felt uncomfortable because I don't like being late or unprepared. When the bus finally arrived, it was very crowded. I had to stand the whole way, and there was a lot of traffic. Everything seemed to be going wrong that day. I kept thinking, this is the worst morning ever. However, something unexpected happened when I got off the bus. As I was walking quickly toward my office, I saw a small crowd of people near a park. At first, I wanted to ignore it and continue to work, but then I heard someone calling for help. I stopped and looked around. An elderly man had fallen down and needed assistance. Without thinking too much, I went over to help him. A few other people were there, but they seemed unsure about what to do. I spoke to the man and tried to keep him calm. Another person called an ambulance, and we stayed with him until it arrived. The whole situation took about 20 minutes, and by the time I left, I was even later for work. When I finally arrived at the office, I expected my manager to be upset. But when I explained what had happened, she surprised me. Instead of being angry, she thanked me for helping someone in need. She even said that sometimes being a good person is more important than being on time. The day didn't end there. Later in the afternoon, I received a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. It turned out to be the daughter of the elderly man I had helped. She had found my number through someone at the scene. She thanked me many times and told me that her father was doing well. She said that my help had made a big difference. Hearing that made me feel really happy and proud. After that day, I started to think differently about life. I realized that even when things go wrong, something good can still happen. Sometimes, unexpected problems can lead to meaningful experiences. Now, whenever I have a bad day, I try to remember that morning. It reminds me to stay calm, be patient, and look for opportunities to help others.
A change of plans. Emma had always been a careful planner. She liked to organize everything in advance, from her daily schedule to her holidays. However, one unexpected event changed the way she looked at life. It was a rainy Monday morning when Emma received an email from her manager. The company she worked for was opening a new office in another city, and they were looking for volunteers to relocate for 6 months. At first, Emma ignored the message. She had a comfortable routine, close friends, and a small but cozy apartment. Moving to a new city sounded stressful. Later that day, during lunch, her colleague Daniel brought up the topic. "Did you see the email about the new office?" he asked. Emma nodded. "Yes, but I'm not interested. It's too much change." Daniel smiled. "Sometimes change is exactly what we need. I'm actually thinking about applying." Emma was surprised. Daniel had always seemed even more settled than she was. "Really? Aren't you worried about leaving everything behind?" she asked. "Of course I am," he said. "But I also think it could be a great opportunity to learn something new." That evening, Emma couldn't stop thinking about their conversation. She realized that she had been doing the same things for years. Her life was stable, but it was also predictable. For the first time, she wondered if she was missing out on something. The next day, she decided to research the city. She watched videos, read blogs, and even looked at photos online. The city looked lively and full of culture. There were museums, parks, and many different restaurants. A few days later, Emma made a decision. She applied for the position. Part 2, a new beginning. 2 weeks later, Emma received the news. She had been selected. At first, she felt excited, but soon after, she became nervous. There were so many things to prepare: finding a place to stay, packing her belongings, and saying goodbye to her friends. Her best friend, Laura, invited her for coffee before she left. "I'm really proud of you," Laura said. "This is a big step." Emma smiled. "I'm excited, but also scared." "That's normal," Laura replied. "But think about all the experiences you'll have." When Emma arrived in the new city, everything felt different. The streets were busier, the people spoke faster, and even the food was unfamiliar. During her first week at work, she struggled to understand some of her new colleagues' point. One day, during a meeting, she missed an important detail because she couldn't follow the conversation quickly enough. After the meeting, she felt frustrated. "I don't think I can do this," she said to her new coworker, Alex. Alex shook his head. "Don't worry. It takes time to adjust. I felt the same when I first moved here." Emma decided not to give up. She started listening more carefully, asking questions, and even watching local TV shows to improve her understanding. Part 3, Growth and Confidence. After a few weeks, things began to change. Emma became more confident in her communication skills. She started to understand jokes, participate in discussions, and even share her own ideas. One evening, her team went out for dinner. Emma joined them and felt comfortable enough to have long conversations. "You've improved a lot," Alex said. "You seem much more relaxed now." Emma laughed. "I guess I just needed some time." Outside of work, Emma also explored the city. She visited museums, walked in parks, and tried different types of food. Slowly, the unfamiliar became familiar. One day, while sitting in a small cafe, she realized something important. She was enjoying her new life. The fear she once had was gone, replaced by curiosity and confidence. Part 4, Looking back. 6 months passed quickly. When it was time to return home, Emma felt emotional. She had learned so much, not only about the city but also about herself. On her last day, her team organized a small farewell party. "We're really going to miss you," Alex said. Emma smiled. "I'll miss you too. This experience changed me." When she returned to her old city, everything felt a little different. It was still the same place, but she was not the same person anymore. She met Daniel again for lunch. "So, was it worth it?" he asked. Emma didn't hesitate. "Absolutely. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made."
A change of plans. Last summer, I had a plan. I wanted to travel alone for the first time in my life. I chose a small coastal town because I thought it would be quiet and relaxing. I imagined myself reading books by the sea, swimming every day, and enjoying the peaceful atmosphere. However, things did not go exactly as I expected. On my second day, I met a group of travelers at a local cafe. They were from different countries: Spain, Germany, and Japan, and they were all exploring the area together. At first, I just listened to their conversation, but soon they invited me to join them. I hesitated. I had planned to spend my vacation alone, and I was not sure if I wanted to change that. But in the end, I decided to say yes. That decision changed everything. Instead of spending quiet days by myself, I started joining their activities. We went hiking in the mountains, tried local food, and even took a boat trip to a nearby island. Every day was different, and I began to enjoy the unexpected nature of my trip. One evening, while we were sitting on the beach watching the sunset, we talked about why we travel. Some people said they travel to escape their routine, while others said they want to learn about new cultures. When it was my turn, I realized something interesting. I had planned this trip to be alone, but what I really needed was connection. Traveling with these people taught me that sometimes the best experiences happen when we change our plans. Being open to new situations can lead to meaningful friendships and unforgettable memories. By the end of the trip, I felt more confident, not only because I had traveled alone, but because I had allowed myself to be flexible. Now, whenever I plan something, I remember that it's okay if things don't go perfectly. Sometimes the unexpected can be even better than what we imagined.
The job I didn't expect. A few months ago, I found myself in a difficult situation. I had just finished university, and like many graduates, I was looking for a job. I had studied business administration, and my plan was to work in a large company. I imagined myself in an office, wearing formal clothes, attending meetings, and building a successful career. But reality was very different. I applied to many companies and went to several interviews. Some interviews went well, but I never received a final offer. Weeks turned into months, and I started to feel frustrated and worried. I began to question myself. Was I not good enough? Had I chosen the wrong field? During this time, I moved back to my hometown to save money. It was a small place where not many job opportunities were available. One day, while walking through the town centre, I saw a small bookstore with a sign on the window, looking for part-time staff. At first, I ignored it. It wasn't the kind of job I had imagined for myself. I wanted something more professional. However, later that day, I kept thinking about it. I had always enjoyed reading, and I needed a job. The next morning, I decided to go back and ask. The bookstore was quiet and full of old wooden shelves. The smell of books filled the air. The owner was an older man named Mr. Demir. He asked me a few simple questions, not about my degree, but about my favorite books, what I liked to read, and how I would help a customer choose a book. I was surprised, but I answered honestly. A few days later, he called me and offered me the job. At the beginning, I thought it would be temporary. I told myself that I would continue applying for office jobs while working at the bookstore. But as days passed, something unexpected happened. I started to enjoy it. Every day, I met different people. Some customers were looking for novels, others for school books, and some just wanted to talk. I learned how to communicate better, how to listen, and how to understand what people really needed. One afternoon, a young student came into the store. She looked confused and a little nervous. She told me she needed a book in English, but didn't know where to start. I spent time helping her choose something suitable for her level. A week later, she came back with a big smile and said, "I finished the book." It was the first book I read in English. That moment stayed with me. It made me realize that my job, even if it seemed small, had value over time. I also started organizing small reading events in the bookstore. At first, only a few people joined, but gradually, more people became interested. We created a small community of readers who shared ideas and experiences. Meanwhile, I still received rejection emails from companies, but they didn't affect me as much as before. I was no longer feeling lost. One evening, while closing the store, Mr. Demir said something I will never forget. He said, "Success doesn't always look the way we expect. Sometimes it quietly enters our lives while we are busy making other plans." That sentence changed my perspective. I realized that I had been focusing too much on a specific image of success. I thought success meant working in a big company, earning a high salary, and following a traditional career path. But working in the bookstore taught me different skills: patience, communication, creativity, and empathy. Now, I am still not sure what my future career will look like. Maybe I will work in a company one day, or maybe I will continue in a different direction. But I am no longer afraid of uncertainty, because I learned that sometimes the opportunities we don't expect can lead us to the experiences we need the most.
The year everything changed 3 years ago, if someone had asked me where I would be today, I would have given a very clear answer. I had a plan, and I believed everything would go exactly as I imagined. At that time, I was working in a busy city, in a job that looked perfect from the outside. I had a stable income, a comfortable apartment, and a routine that made me feel in control. Every morning, I woke up at the same time, took the same bus, and sat at the same desk. But slowly, something started to change. At first, it was just a feeling, a quiet sense that something was missing. I couldn't explain it clearly. My life was fine, but it didn't feel exciting or meaningful anymore. Every day felt the same, and I began to feel tired, not physically, but mentally. I told myself that this was normal. Many people feel this way, I thought. Maybe I just needed a vacation. So I took a week off and traveled to a small village in the mountains. The place was completely different from the city. There were no busy streets, no loud noises, and no constant pressure to hurry. During the first few days, I didn't know what to do with myself. I kept checking my phone, thinking about emails, and worrying about work. But gradually, I started to slow down. I began taking long walks in nature. I noticed things I had never paid attention to before: the sound of the wind, the colors of the sky, and the simple rhythm of daily life in the village. One day, I met a woman named Elif who lived there. She owned a small cafe and seemed to know everyone in the village. We started talking, and she told me that she had once lived in a big city too. I was surprised. She explained that she used to work in a high-paying job, but she was always stressed and unhappy. One day, she decided to leave everything behind and move to the village. She said it was not easy at the beginning, but over time, she built a life that felt more real to her. Her story stayed in my mind. When my vacation ended, I returned to the city, but something felt different. The noise seemed louder, the streets more crowded, and my job more stressful than before. I tried to go back to my normal routine, but I couldn't ignore the feeling anymore. Weeks passed, and I found myself thinking more and more about change. But I was also afraid. Leaving my job meant losing stability. It meant taking a risk. I spent many evenings thinking about my options. Should I stay in my safe but unfulfilling life? Or should I try something new and uncertain? Finally, after months of thinking, I made a decision. I quit my job. At first, it felt both exciting and terrifying. I didn't have a clear plan, only a strong feeling that I needed to do something different. I decided to return to the village for a longer time. This time, I didn't go as a tourist. I went to experience daily life. I started helping Ella at her cafe. I learned how to prepare simple meals, serve customers, and manage small problems. It was very different from my office job, but I enjoyed it. Life in the village was not always easy. There were challenges, limited resources, fewer opportunities, and sometimes a feeling of isolation. But there was also something I had been missing for a long time, a sense of purpose. I could see the direct result of my work. I could connect with people in a real way. Over time, I began to understand something important. Change is not always comfortable, and it is rarely perfect. But staying in a situation that makes you unhappy can be even more difficult in the long term. After a year, I didn't become a completely different person, but I became more aware of what I truly value. Now, I still don't have everything figured out. My future is not completely clear, and I still face uncertainty. But I am no longer afraid of it, because I learned that sometimes the biggest changes in life begin with a simple question: is this really the life I want? And once you start asking that question, it becomes very hard to ignore the answer.